I'm gonna sew a zipper onto this sweatshirt. I've already sewn the sweatshirt, so all I have left to do is put on my zipper. To give it a soft feel, and sew down a couple of pieces of knit fabric right along both edges. And it also gives it another little stylistic touch. I already have my zipper foot on my machine, and I'll just sew with a regular straight stitch. So to start, I'll have my zipper face down, lined up along the center edge. And this is the right side of the sweatshirt. And I'll start at the bottom. You're going to want to leave a little bit of space there so that the waistband extends a little bit longer than the zipper. So I'll leave maybe a couple millimeters there. I'll try and keep my fingers out of the way. It might be kind of difficult, but I'll do my best. So another thing is when you are sewing with knit fabric, you want to make sure that you're not stretching that fabric when you sew the zipper on. Otherwise it'll get really wavy. So I do a little bit of the opposite and kind of feed in as a little extra fabric as I'm sewing. As you can see, my zipper is a lot longer than it needs to be, but I will just trim this off now after I'm done. To do the next side, you'll fold the sweatshirt inside on itself, so the right side is kind of hidden now, and fold the other edge of this zipper with the right side down along the other center edge of the sweatshirt. And you're going to have to line up certain spots like the neckband in the pocket and waistband. Line up the neckband so it's even with the other side and start there. Okay, there it's sewn on from the inside, and I'll unzip it here so we can see the other side. So there it is from the right side. Now we're going to have to sew on top here to keep this edge from flipping out so it'll lay flat. Before I do that, I'm going to trim off the extra zipper length. So I'll zip it up and trim right at the neckband, maybe one tooth below. And then try and trim at the same spot on the other side. And if this comes off, it's not too big of a deal because you can just put it back on. Before I sew on top of it, I'm going to switch my zipper foot to the other side. So I have this folded inside, and I'm going to sew along the edge at about 1/4 inch or a little less. And it's going to kind of be tricky here because it's so bulky. You might just have to hand crank it over that little area. I actually stopped and switched my thread color here because the two colors are drastically different. So now I'm going to start sewing with a gray thread instead of a yellow thread like I did on the bottom. You might have to kind of lift your presser foot to make sure that fabric isn't stretching out or bunching up in front of it. Now, when you get to the top, you want to make sure that this neckband sort of folds in, and you'll sew right there so it almost overlaps the top of that zipper. So instead of it being straight, pulled out as far as it can go, I push it in a little and then sew up. That way it'll hide this raw zipper edge. I switched my thread again to yellow just to sew this last part at the top. You can see the neckband slowly tapers in so that this zipper edge isn't exposed at all. Now I'm going to start the next side, and I'm going to start at the top, so I'll leave the yellow thread in to do this first part. And like the other side, make sure that that neckband gets folded in a little so it almost goes over top that last tooth on the zipper. Okay, I switched back to the gray thread, and if you're not as obsessive as me about thread matching, you certainly don't have to switch threads, and it'll make it a lot easier if you don't. You have to get over this lump again, which can be pretty tricky. And I sewed the bottom with a yellow thread. If there's any extra on the inside past that zipper edge, you can trim it off. So now the zipper is done, except one last thing. You'll have to make a little zipper stop for yourself since you had to trim off the other one. If you didn't, you obviously don't have to do this, but I take a hand sewing needle and wrap around a piece of thread several times around that top tooth just to make it so this will not come off at the top. And that's it.